I will be on AyinBase 2. We'll start from the line that begins besarim, about 10 lines from the top. The neshama and the guf have no natural affinity, no natural correlation. And yet, there is the aspect of the neshama being mechubar, joined with the guf, to the extent that the chayes neshama actually provides flesh level of life and inspiration. The chaim tivi'im, which we discussed yesterday. Okay, gam bichlal, and even overall in a general perspective, that there should be altogether the revelation of Oyer HaNeshama, of the light of the Neshama. We discussed the Ayin from Oyer yesterday. That the Oyer HaNeshama should be begilui, shezehu hepech hateva. That itself is the opposite of teva. Why? Ki teva ha'oil hikolil bimkoiroi. Because the nature of oil is to be incorporated and totally absorbed in the source. So we discussed that also briefly yesterday. In general, oil is extremely difficult for us to conceptualize and to relate. And then the mocker of oil. But the principle of oil is that it is representative of its mocker. That's the principle of oil. Now, oil does not have a function, an activity of its own. Oil is a statement that there is this level of truth, like the mocker and the etzem. And teva oil is the kol bin koine. We mentioned yesterday, or during this period that we're learning this Ayin, what we mentioned many times, that chochmah, effectively the difference between chochmah and binah is that binah, the oyer haseichel, is bihislapshus and kelim. Chochmah is a pure oyer, the way it comes straight from the earth. And the principle of the oyer hachochmah is what is it alluding to? What is it pointing to? It's pointing to the etzem. It's pointing to that which is not a metziut. Excuse me. Like we said many times, that when that re'iyah, sight, is a very conclusive, very fine representation of chochmah. And what is the experience of sight? sight we see the physical world. But it's not the physicality that that sight brings to the forefront. It is where the physicality comes from, what enables there to be that world. This is what sight is. Like we explained, it's an amazing thing. If it were a physicality, how can you observe in one instant a whole expanse of miles across? Clearly, it is not the physicality that you're observing, it is the basis of it, the chayas that creates it, that allows for it. This is the pshat oyer. Oyer is alluding all the time to its mocker. And therefore, it is not begili. So that there should be gili and shoma, this is hepech hateva. The whole thing we're trying to, we are now, so to speak, discussing the anomaly, the phenomenon of the neshama being Yisgala, in particular the neshama being Slavish in the guf, and then we'll come to talk on how does this in fact occur. It's explained elsewhere. Shezehu, that this principle, that teva ha'oyer is linkolim koine, that the nature of the oyer is to be incorporated in the source and not announce its own presence. Shezehu, that is true ba'oyer, in such an oyer sheyesh lo shaychus el hamoker. The pure oyer, the oyer that has a correlationship with its source. Hainu, meaning to say, shemiyuchad bim koine. It's a finer oyer, shemiyuchad bim koine, that is miyuchad, united with the source. This is the type of oyer that its nature is to be nichlal in its moker. Just as we just now demonstrated in sight, as I said, sight and chochmah, this is both bringing out an Ayin of oyer. So in sight there are different levels. If one pays attention to the physicality that it reveals, then it's not Ayin of oyer, or it's a lower element of oyer. The oyer element in sight is bringing the entire reality at a glance. This is the mocker, and that is the neshama. The neshama, and thus the neshama b'ma'aloso, in its highest state, and neshama due to its ma'ala, harei ha'oyer shelo. So there, the oyer shelo, the oyer of the neshama, is davuk bim koyin, is connected to its source. Connected to its source means, the oyer is davuk bim koyin, means that it does not have a presence without its connection to the source.
Is that not the nature of all light?
There's two different things. Davuk bim koyin does not only mean to say that I'm depending on my mocker. We discussed it many times, like in the daylight. light is always coming from the source, from the sun. But then it becomes physicalized to the point where we say, hey, the light actually travels millions of miles from the sun, and it takes X number of minutes for the light to reach us. And during this time, the light is separate. But that's the lower element of light. It is not the light that represents the true element, the truth of light, the true of light. That's a neshama. The ma'alos of the neshama in its ma'ileh, each light is to represent the mile of the neshama, the truth of the neshama. And therefore that light is David ben Kohen. What is neshama b'ma'aloso? What is the real mila, the real meaning of the neshama? The real meaning of neshama is, even though it has an effect here in the physical world, and this is what we're learning, the anomaly of it, but the neshama in essence is a breath, a godly breath, not a metziut at all. Therefore, v'sheyeh gilui oyer hanshama hepech tivoi, the whole anomaly that there should be gilui oyer hanshama, the oyer hanshama should be begilui, which is hepech tivoi, which is contrary to the nature of oyer. To have a little handle on this discussion, how the Gilui Hanshama is hepech tivoi, we bring always the principle of the experience of the host and the guest. So we're saying that no matter what the host does for the guest, if the host himself is absent, there isn't that effect. The effect of his presence is completely missing, even though he has produced a whole meal. Because the teva ha'oyer is to be David ben Kohen. And if the moker is absent, then there is no oyer. This is, in fact, gives us again an opportunity to get a handle of what is meant by oyer. The host is giving a whole hefty meal through which he is expressing and showing his affection for the guest and his concern for the guest. But oyer is a completely different statement. Oyer means that I personally have a connection, have an affinity with you. That's it. Not in a manner that you can take and experience. Just the person-to-person relationship. This is oyer. And that does not come begilui, does not become a metziut unto itself. Where do we see the fact that it does not become a metziut in itself? That the host can spend an hour with the guest, and when he leaves, the whole thing is out. So therefore, that there should be the gilui of the Ayin Shoma, the revelation of the Ayin Shoma, which is contrary to its nature. And furthermore, chaim tivi'im, that this Ayin Shoma should come, which means it should descend to the point where it has the effect of chaim tivi'im, of natural life. What is chaim tivi'im? We discussed it the other day. Tivi'im. What is the life element in the body? In the body, the life element, even though it is life, but the life element is manifest by its effect on the body. It is not life per se. This means chaim tivi'im. But it's a natural life. What's natural life? The effect of life. It enables the goof to move, it enables the goof to function and so forth. This is totally distant from the neshama and the oil neshama, because the oil neshama per se is the pure oil itself. It doesn't need a body. It doesn't need a receptacle. Chaim tivi'im, that the life should become identifiable on a natural level. This is totally anomaly. And he explains the from chaim tivi'im, the oil haneshama, because the oil of the neshama, at the point where the oil haneshama comes and is manifest in the goof, then gam hagiluyim hanalim sheboy, even the most phenomenal, the superior giluyim of that oil, heima kefi chushei haguf, even the finest giluyim are kefi chushei haguf, are in accord with the chushi haguf, with the senses of the body. Just to put it again in some kind of a tangible form, we spent many time in going back, let's say, to sight. It's an interesting Ayin we discussed many times. Sight, the experience of sight is simply I see it because it is there, because that's the truth. There's nothing to do with the body, with the physical experience. It's the truth itself, and this is why I see. But when it comes in terms of physical experience, there is always the element that I see not because of its pure truth, but because that sight kind of counters and answers a question. The idea from Teva is that when you cannot have an answer without a question. Everything is elicited by a question. What is going on? Oh, this is going on. If you don't have the question, what is going on, then you don't know, you don't relate to what is going to this is going on. So that the fact that I'm observing anything is in itself an answer to the question, is there anything there? The principle of the reality that there is no such thing as there not being anything there, because God creates it, and therefore there is no such possibility that it shouldn't be there. That element we don't see.
that element we don't see.
This doesn't have a question.
You see by contrast.
The truth of the world is that the whole possibility of the world not being there that's not seeing the truth of the world because the truth of the world is because God wants it. It doesn't have a negative presence aspect. In the world, if this is here and then turned out to be here, how did it get there? It's a valid question. Even though there's nothing contrary to nature for it to being there, but still, how did it get there? And this is the question that is constantly observed in the world. Yeah, it's positively there because it came to be. But the truth is that the world represents the godly presence. And when God wants, therefore it's there. Like it says in the Pasuk, Hu Omar Vayehi. What does Omar Vayehi mean? He said, and it was there. But he said and it was there. This is the presence of the world. That aspect, which is what's called Teva. And this is beyond Teva. This is what he says, that the Oil and Shoma in the Guf, even the supreme Yiluyim, Hema Kfi Chushi HaGuf, they come Kfi Chushi HaGuf according to the senses of the Guf. The Guf, anything that it sees, has to have a means. How can I see? How can I see? It has to have a means, that the Guf should be able to relate to it. And that is how the Oil HaNeshama is recognized in the Guf. As for example, Hahasog of Elokis the Neshama. The level of comprehension, that means the manner of comprehension of Elokus, of the Neshama, and also the unit of Ahava V'yira that is experienced in the Guf. Hakoil hu kefi hachush haguf. The truth of the Neshama itself becomes, so to speak, so physicalized that it's seen and it's understood according to the sense of the Guf, the way the Guf can relate to it. We spoke about light. Light essentially was a godly creation on the first day of creation, before there were luminaries. And that is light that represents a godly creation, pure and simple. There's no worldly explanation of how this is present. But that would not be able to last in the world. The world and that would not be able to partner. So therefore there was a creation of luminaries, of the sun and the moon, and they produce light, and that the light element itself is being camouflaged, like we speak all the time, according to the manner the world can relate to it, even though light remains light. The same thing is in the neshama in the guf. That everything that one recognizes of the neshama, it acquires the chushi haguf, the senses of the guf. You don't sense it because of the truth of the neshama. You sense it the way the guf relates to it and interprets it. The chushi haguf. And in the guf, everything goes through interpretation. V'chein hu gam b'tzadikim hagdoil. Where this phenomenon that the neshama is meir in the guf, kifi chushi haguf, is true even b'tzadikim hagdoil. But the great tzadikim, ובנשום is הגבוהס, and the supreme neshom, שמופשוטים מהגשם, that are mufshotim, that are unrelated, ungrasped by the geshem, and yet, and Tzadikim HaGdolim, they actually understand the Elokus per se. Nevertheless, hasogosum lamato, their comprehension here below, eine be'erech, is not comparable to hasogas anshomet mitzadat atzma. The way the neshama comprehends Elokus mitzadat atzma on its own. In other words, that this is slapshus and neshama in the guf is not only because this is a coarse guf and he cannot relate to neshama per se. Tzadikim, they can relate to neshama per se. They're completely mevatel their gashmi. They're not interested in translating on the gashmic level. They are focused entirely on the neshama. And yet, because the neshama is mislavish meguf, it changes it, and they cannot comprehend and relate to Asur Halakis the way the neshama understands it in its purity in itself without the guf. All right. So we are into purity of the neshama. Okay. Have a great day.